Hey guys, Alex from BoardGameCo over here, and today it's time for another Kickstarter roundup, another batch of 10-15 games. I am a little late with this one. There's been too many videos. There's been Nemesis, Kemet, CMON Comics. There's so many Kickstarters coming up that I wanted to get this one done like a few days ago because a few of these end today or in the next 48 hours, 3 of these end. So not a ton of time, unfortunately. It's just I'm trying not to do more than one video a day specifically. I just don't want to overload the channel, and so it is what it is. It's unfortunate. The first one of these games, Escape Roll and Write, you're gonna have about an hour and a half from after this video goes till the campaign's over, which is why this will actually be uploaded a bit earlier than the normal 10 o'clock. It'll be maybe 9 o'clock, 9:30. We'll see what happens. Anyways, as far as that, before we go into the actual games themselves, and as usual, I'll include timestamps below in case you want to just jump straight to one. I do want to talk briefly about small publishers, the nature of small publishers versus large publishers, and the legitimate critique that I've received from a few people, not a ton, but I've definitely received comments that my videos tend to be more favorable to larger established publishers than to small publishers, which in theory is what Kickstarter was created for. And that complaint is legitimate because it's true. It is 100% true that my videos do favor larger publishers. And that's on 2 counts. One is just practical, and one is selfish, unfortunately. The practical one is that the nature of my videos, the nature of the Kickstarter videos, the Kickstarter content I put out, is specifically geared with the idea that, speaking for myself, I trade most games I get. Every game that I want to get is exciting, it's awesome, it's going to be the next game that I love. And that's true for Kickstarter and non-Kickstarter alike. The difference with Kickstarter is with Kickstarter games, you're backing these games before you even know if you like them. So there's not even a chance to see reviews at all, there's not a chance to play someone else's copy. It is 100% being bought on faith and hoping for the best. And so if I believe, based on my own track record, that I'm trading away 75% of the games that I trading or selling, 75% of the games I get, then I need to know that I'm not just dumping money down into an ever-sinking pit. And to that degree, to that aspect, small publishers are just not nearly as safe a back. It's not that I don't love games. I'll be putting up another whole video about the nature of the monetary return, loving games, all that. I'll do that later. But this one's more focused on just small versus big. And small publishers are, unfortunately, they're not as safe a back. They don't have the resources to put out a campaign that has as much. They don't have the networks, the connections. They don't have the track record to see how their campaigns will sell after the campaign. They don't have the things you're looking for, the things I'm looking for when you're eyeing Kickstarter, not just with oh, hey, that's shiny, I want it, but also with the aspect of, well, I want to make sure that my money is being put into something that if I don't like it, I didn't just lose everything. So that is just practical. It is true that it's 100% true that I will favor larger publishers because they are better set up to deliver that value proposition that I look for. It has nothing personal against small publishers, nothing at all. I genuinely wish them all the best. I want everyone to grow and succeed. Every single person, whether you agree with me, disagree with me, whether you're a CMON, whether you're a tiny indie publisher, whoever you are in life, I wish no one anything but success. Success should be everyone's. How does it help me to want someone to fail in any way? The second aspect, and this is the one that is more personal, the second aspect is there is a selfish aspect to my coverage, meaning the larger Kickstarters will get their own dedicated video very often, not all of them, but the ones that appeal to me or speak to me in some way. The smaller publishers will never get their own dedicated video. The larger publishers may get mentioned in 2 or 3 Kickstarter roundups, versus the smaller campaigns might see the only one Kickstarter roundup, even if that campaign lasts through several ones. So that one is selfishly motivated, because if I'm putting out the content, I want people who are engaging with it. I want people who want it. And the nature of the game is that you pick a game like, let's say, Gunfighter, which has 651 backers, that compared to Nemesis, which has 24,000 backers, there are just more people who are interested in the content around these big, gigantic games that everyone wants. So there is a selfish aspect of, yes, I'm going to spend more time covering things that more people are interested in. It doesn't mean I don't want the best for Gunfighter. I do want the best for Gunfighter. But yes, my coverage will tend to skew towards those that are larger, those that have more of an audience, because the nature of YouTube is it's built for an audience. So there will be that skew in that direction. I just wanted to jump into that. If you skipped all that, then hey, welcome, and we're going to start us off with Dawnshade. So, Dawnshade is one I covered in my last Kickstarter roundup. The reason I'm mentioning it here is purely because I think I did make the decision firmly. When I last left off, I was still on the fence. I was like leaning towards not backing. As of right now, 15 days to go, things can change, but I do not believe I'll be backing Dawnshade. Very interested in trying it down the road, but the cost aspect to the game really made me look into it even more than I usually do, meaning I don't actually look into these games as much as you might think, because if I believe something is a safe back, then I don't need to jump into 14 playthroughs and reading the rulebook, because I will get my money back if I don't like it, so what do I care? I'll read the rulebook when I get it instead of a year in advance when I'm going to have to reread it later. But when I don't think something is a safer back, then I actually do look into it more. And in the case of Dawnshade, I looked into it more. I am skeptical that it's a game that is for me personally, and combined with the cost, I am just too uncertain on it, and I am currently passing. I'm very excited to see what happens when it comes out. I'm very excited to see if it's critically received, if people like it, and obviously if they do, I will be giving it a shot. Next update is Tribune. Tribune, when I last left off, Tribune is a game I absolutely love. Unfortunately, they're not getting the support that a game like this should get, and a big part of that seems to be based on the design, as well as the cost. Honestly, the cost does not seem to be great on this. You can get the original game cheaper, the expansion is not that great, honestly, in my opinion, and the expansion is not that great in my opinion, and so it doesn't seem like a great back between the board design and the actual cost. They did redesign the board. If you look over here, here's the, actually let me find the original board. The original board is over here. Okay, we have the original board over here, and then we have the board redesign over here. So I'm going to jump back and forth briefly. They're both okay. They're both okay to me. I don't particularly like one more than the other. I can argue which one's better or worse, but this one is the best. Absolutely the best, to me, at least on a personal level. The original design, this, I don't know. I can't even compare. This looks like what the redesign should be, and these look like the older original board. I wish them all the best, but that board design aspect does seem to be really killing them here. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to scrap and relaunch. I don't know if they're going to continue, but I just don't think this is worth backing, unfortunately. And not because of my opinion, but rather the general consensus, it does seem to be that it's not great. And what I mean by that is, I have an opinion on the financial aspect, and then I have my own personal opinion. But I don't like many things that people like. Individual opinions are individual opinions. You should always take them with a grain of salt. But when the masses, when the comment section in general seems to be fairly critical, when the campaign in general does not seem to be doing well, that should tell you something about the general audience and whether this is something people are going to be seeking down the road or not so much. So from there, we move to the first new game on the list, and that's Escape Roll and Write. Escape Roll and Write. Okay, this is a fun one. Short version is, this is one that I don't think is worth it, but I do think if you like it, you should back it. If you're interested, I think you should back it because that gap is small enough. So to begin with, this is a cooperative roll and write by Queen Games. It's pulling from Escape. Off the bat, it's going to be missing that real-time element in Escape. So if that's what you love about Escape in particular, then I don't think you should back this because this is not going to have any real-time element whatsoever. So the core mechanism of Escape is not present here. This is not a game that is similar to Escape. This is a game that is taking the concept of Escape and trying to build an audience from that, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you love Escape, that's not a reason to back this. That being said, if you like roll and writes, or if you like thematic tie-ins between your games, then go ahead and give this a shot. I love roll and writes. I will not be backing this. I'll get back to it in a second. But the game itself is a cooperative roll and write, which is the only reason I considered backing it. Because roll and writes in general, they're a dime a dozen right now. I like the concept of all of them. I only keep maybe a third or a quarter of the ones I play, so I don't feel the need to pay $20 plus $8 shipping, and that's the cheapest option. If you're in the US, $28 to get this roll and write. This will be available for $14, $15 after. It does come with some promo tiles for Escape, but I don't see, for myself, I don't have Escape anymore. Great game, eventually got rid of it, and so because I don't have Escape, these don't have much of a value to me. And I don't know how much of a value they'll have. The problem with Queen Games is that they tend to have so many of these Queenie packs, these promos, that it really ends up becoming not like, oh, I really need that one thing, but rather, am I someone who collects all of them, or am I someone who just gets what comes my way? And from my own personal experience, I haven't seen that level of demand on Queen promos, the Queenie promos in general, and Escape in particular, which has the most. It does not mean they're not worth something, but it means that I don't think it's worth paying the extra $15 or whatever it is, the extra $12 what you're going to pay to get it now versus later, just to get those promos. I will be trying this after the fact, because, like I said, it's cooperative roll and write, which I'm intrigued by. Very intrigued. I don't know how well it's going to do. They do exist, by the way. Cooperative roll and writes do exist, but they are certainly rarer. I haven't played any myself, and the ones that do exist don't seem to be notables. None of the Railroad Inks, Welcome to, Ganshon Clever, all the well-known roll and writes are all competitive. So that's interesting. It's pro and con. Does that mean the cooperative doesn't do well at all, or does it mean that it just hasn't been done well yet? Either way, it's an interesting game. If you are interested in it, if you like it, go ahead and back it. But like I said, you're probably overpaying it for it. And I love how they added, like, they have Winter Kingdom in here as an option, 0 backers. Doesn't mean no one's going to get it in the pledge manager, but no one's picking this pledge level. They basically threw a lot of their games into here. They have the Escape Big Box, meaning the fact that they got to 92,000 is not all roll and write. I don't know what percentage of it's roll and write, but either way. So that's Escape. If you like it, go ahead and give it a shot. Not that much of a gap in price. For myself, I'll pass and get it later, assuming the reviews are halfway decent. Next up on this list is Maharaja. Maharaja is at $109,000 so far, 8 hours to go. Oh, sorry, one last thing, let's just touch upon it. We have 99 minutes to go with filming, so you have, by the time this launches, you probably have around half an hour or 45 minutes to back escape. Sorry about that, I didn't realize how close I was cutting it, or I would have swapped my CMON Comics video with this one and reversed the order. In any case, on there, we have Maharaja, 8 hours to go, not a ton of time on this one. Again, I apologize, too many videos. So Maharaja is an interesting one with a bit of a tough call in this one. So first of all, this is a reprint of Maharaja. Maharaja is a generally well-liked game. It's not loved, it's not a critical acclaim, it's a 7.1 on Board Game Geek. Nothing wrong with that at all. Good game that is getting a reprint and deluxeified edition. Now, off the bat, the price point on this, let's go through the actual contents briefly. We have the board, we have a giant box. I didn't measure just how big that is, but they're saying it's a huge box. I'll take their word for it, and you can measure it yourself if you care enough. They have the map, they have the player boards, these dials, they have these deluxeified components. Now, if any of this is looking similar at any point, that's because offhand, as I went through this page, this was very much reminding me, both thematically as well as component-wise, especially once I got up to here, this was reminding me of Medina. Medina is this game over here, which is currently going for around $60. This is a game that sometimes you can get it for as cheap as like $40, but especially right now, it currently is harder to get, and it's in the $60 range, and it generally is in that range. The 40 is usually an exception. The 40 is usually when someone's like, oh, Amazon deal, quickly buy it. So that is relevant because if you're comparing the contents to Medina, that tells you that this $51 pledge level, over here we have the standard pledge. They had an early bird. If you got that, that might have been a better deal. Well, that for sure was a better deal. The question is how much. But the standard pledge is $51 compared to the cost of Medina, but as usual, shipping. So how much is shipping? And that is sadly where things get killed. It does depend on where you are. If you're in Germany, if there are a few places, I'm not going to try to find it right now, but there are different places. This is actually one of those campaigns where the US is actually more expensive. So, I mean, I'm happy to share the love, I guess, but it is, if you're in the US, this is going to cost you 19 euros to ship. It's another 25, 26 bucks on top of your $51 pledge. That's $71, $75 or so. So, is it worth $71, $75 when a game that's comparable in theme, a game that's comparable in quality and how well liked it is and what you're getting for it, is Medina at $60? And the short answer is it depends, because what this does have going for it in that value aspect compared to Medina is this does have exclusive content in it. Medina does not. Medina is just the retail version. So, what does that mean at the end of the day? It means that if you're interested in Maharaja, if you like Maharaja already, if you've played Maharaja and you're intrigued, this might be a safe back. It's not a back, to be clear. This is nothing that, there's no way you're making like money back on this. This is a game that it will probably hold its value. You'll get it earlier. It'll probably hold its value. You're not talking about huge gaps here. I don't think there's anything that's going to be turned around and sold for $100 anywhere. But I don't think you'll be able to get the same thing for that much cheaper, if at all. So, if you are interested, I do recommend backing it with the understanding that it still could hit the secondary market later and be significantly cheaper. I don't think they have enough backers for that to be a real concern, meaning if we scroll up here, they have 3,000 backers. How many of these could hit the secondary market? How many of these are going to sit there and plunge the price down? I don't think it will. I could be wrong, but it's not what I would call a ridiculously safe back, but it's also not somewhere where you're throwing away your money. From there, we have Capital Lux, Capital Lux 2 more specifically. Capital Lux is a drafting game from the same designers as the Magnificent, Santa Maria. This is the new standalone game. It improves upon the original. I have never played the original. The original is rated a 7.1 on Board Game Geek, so take that into account. But in general, reprints tend to be safer properties because at least it's not turning into, you know, the next bust or whatever. Reprints or deluxe editions tend to be safer choices. This one is a tough one. $29 for the... So first of all, it's a drafting game. You draft your cards, play them to your area, score points. I don't know much more than that. You know, I did the overview, I looked at it. This is not a game that's been on my radar. It is now because of drafting, but at the same time, it's one that I'm waiting for because I tend to pick up anything with drafting, and a lot of them go away. I have a very high bar for my games, and drafting in particular is one that I tend to be very specific on. I want drafting to feel incredibly tense, not just passing cards. I want the pain of passing cards. I want to know that what I have to pick hurts, and what I have to pass you hurts. I want it to be incredibly tense, and not all drafting games do that for me. But let's talk about the game. So $29 or $12. Shipping's going to be around 8 to 10, again, depending on your region, depending on where you're from. And that cost is a tough one. This very much falls into the Tiny Epic Ninjas, or not Tiny Epic, you see? Can't say it. Tiny Ninjas, or Tiny Ninja Heroes, or whatever it was, that I covered in my last Kickstarter roundup. I'll link to that up above. The Tiny Ninjas was a game that I did not feel was worth it from a component standpoint, but the game just wasn't available cheaper. So from a stance of if you want that game, can you get it, is a different conversation than can you get it cheaper. And the Capital Lux very much falls into the same category. If you look around for Capital Lux, it's really just not that prevalent. It's not a game you can easily find. You can find it for like $45 on eBay. It's not at any of your retailers. It's not currently available on, you know, the Board Game Geek marketplace. It's not an easy to get game. From that stance, if this is a game you're interested in, $29 plus another $10 is not the worst offer, theoretically. And I say theoretically because it is entirely possible that you'll spend that $39 to get this pledge saying, hey, it was $45, it's a good price. But theoretically, a year from now, this could be available at retailers for, you know, $26. So it is a tougher call as to whether it will be worth it. But as of right now, my recommendation would be to go ahead and back it if it's a game you're interested in, because there is no real guarantee here. But at least as of right now, it is a game that is well priced compared to the current marketplace. I can't speak for what will be in a year, so, you know, buyer beware. Next on this list, we have Gunfighter. Gunfighter is a tough one for me. Gunfighter is, well, I mean, it's currently at $18,000. It currently is hit its funding goal. It's a smaller game. This is not some giant production. Offhand, I will say, I highly recommend these 1-minute game overviews. If you haven't seen her stuff before, they are phenomenal. The actual videos are, well, they're not incredibly done from a stance of the theme, the environment, the this, the that. But that's because they're a 1-minute game video. When I first started watching them, I kind of skipped past them. And then the more I watched them, the more I appreciated how incredible of a job she does. She spends 1 minute. She picks any game. She has Coimbra. Coimbra is an incredibly complicated game. And she has an incredibly well done 1-minute overview of how to play Coimbra. If you are looking for what is this gameplay experience going to be like, and I don't want to spend 15 minutes watching some gameplay video, her stuff is incredible. You're not going to learn how to play Coimbra from her video, obviously, but she does give you a very excellent breakdown of what the gameplay will be like. I highly recommend subscribing to her channel if you like that kind of thing. It's great. If you want, specifically, I actually have a lot of people who comment on, I talk about the value too much and not about the game, which is true because that is my focus. So if you want, you know, if you want to add a 1-minute length to all my videos, watch her stuff whenever she covers a game that I'm covering as well. But again, that's a bit of a tangent. Recommend her videos. Moving back to Gunfighter. Gunfighter is, you know, they have two pledges. They have the $20 pledge and the $30 Kickstarter all in. Then there's shipping on top of it. That's another $10. Is this game worth $30 to $40? It depends. If it speaks to you, go ahead and back it. But do I think it's going to hold its value? Unfortunately, I don't. I'm not seeing enough here that makes me think this is a game that's going to really, you know, make it after the fact. It's okay. It looks okay. As always, they can be sleeper hits. Anything can be a sleeper hit. But this really strongly, unfortunately, falls into the category of back it if it speaks to you. If you want to justify it, I can't speak for what the availability will be after the fact. It might be this won't be available cheaper. So in which case, go ahead and get it. It's a hard to say with this one. So I guess holding back my opinion, but it's definitely a smaller game, which makes it more of a risk. From there, we have a bunch of the big guys. We have CMON Comics, which I covered already. I will link to that up above, little linky thingy, whatever. CMON Comics, short version of this one. Again, watch my full video if you want my full opinion. The short version is, I think that as a starting point to this game, to this Kickstarter, as a starting point to this Kickstarter, instead of going crazy about the paywall of hiding miniatures and content behind comics, if you are someone who's interested in comics, great, you're almost certainly getting an amazing value. If you're someone who's not interested in the comics, strip away the comics, strip them away, pretend there are no comics here, and instead you're just paying, the different pledge levels, say $75. You're paying $75 to get a bunch of promotional content for other games. Pretend it was just that. Pretend Awakened Realms said, hey guys, it's $75. Here's, 20 plus miniatures and a whole bunch of other cards and promos and whatnot for $75 for Tainted Grail and the Edge Dawnfall and Lords of Hellas. Okay? Pretend that was the case and there were no comics. Decide for yourself, is that value there for you or not? I can tell you that without a doubt, they will hold their value. So in terms of the resale value, if you like Cthulhu Death May Die, but you don't like the others, great, you'll be able to sell them. That's not a problem at all. In terms of your personal preference, you have to ask yourself, is $75 plus shipping worth 20 or so promos plus, 20 or so minis plus 10 or more other promotional content? If that's worth it to you, back it. If it's not, don't. The whole paywall of hiding behind comics is CMON's way of upselling you into the new intellectual property. Totally understand that. It doesn't change the value proposition for you or me. I could not care less about the comics. They are an extra freebie that they're tossing in that I may or may not get around to reading. That's my opinion. You can watch the full video above. Moving from there, we have Kemet Blood and Sand. Kemet Blood and Sand is doing pretty well, currently at 488,000, pretty decently. They hit like 250,000 day one or something like that, and now they have 15 days to go. I see this hitting maybe around 700,000-800,000. Might cross 1 million, very possible. I would say more than that, actually. It's more than 800,000. I would say it'll probably get to around 1 million. Hard to know for sure. We'll see how the campaign goes. But a big part of that will be that tomorrow, I believe, they'll be updating it with their new Kickstarter. I'm assuming it's going to be an optional buy. We don't know yet. But something to do with green power pyramids. And that probably is going to be the thing that pushes me over the edge. I talked about this in my other Kemet full video. You can watch that up above. But I was on the fence about this because initially when the campaign launched, it wasn't really clear how many things would be exclusive and whether this would be worth it. I mean, it's not a bad price, not by any means, but it's also not going to be the most ideal price. It's not going to be what you can get it for after the fact. So should you back this and why? And that very much comes down to what exclusive they're going to offer, which is something they have made a big deal of clarifying. On two counts. First of all, they put an update out talking about the stretch goals. These are the things that are already included. Plus, we have the Sacred Bull. We have these two included. So they clearly have another five planned, with at least one miniature planned. And then they have this to unlock thing, which there are these obelisks there. You can see them there. So 3D obelisks seem to be a thing. So I do think that this will be worth it at the end of the campaign. Based on the 3D obelisks, 2 monsters, 10 power tiles, I think at that point that is enough content that it'll be worth the Kickstarter pledge. And combine that with whatever green pyramids they're unlocking that aren't available in your regular Kemet, and I will almost certainly be upgrading and keeping my pledge to get the new Kemet. I still have some reservations about the art style. I like the full color tiles that they upgraded. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this campaign is going. It's not the value you're going to see from an Awakened Realms Kickstarter, a CMON Kickstarter. It's not that value, but it is a game that I love already, so it's much less of a risk. I back a lot of games. Many of them do not stick around. Street Busters is gone. Rackbusters is gone. What else did I back? The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is gone. Many of these games that I'm excited about eventually do leave. So I love it when there's a Kickstarter for a game I already love. I love it when Project Elite comes to Kickstarter, when Kemet comes to Kickstarter. It's a safer back in that context because it's a game I already love with new and better stuff. In the case of Kemet, it's not all new and better, but I would say overall it's new and better, and I'm so excited about the Green Pyramid stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, I might be terribly let down because the last thing I want is to be another jack of all trades pyramids like the black pyramids. I don't have a problem with one of the jack of all trades pyramids, but I don't want two of them. What I would love, and it's way too late for them to change this if they haven't already, I would love if they were all environmentally based, meaning if all the green ones were all about the board and the map. I mean, like if you're on, like for instance, they have color-coded areas here, and I'm wondering how much of that is art design and how much of that is a choice related to the fact that you have these mountainous areas, you have these green lush areas. What about crossing the Nile? It would be incredible. What's this, this storm mode or in the top corner of the map. It would be incredible to me if the green ones were all environmentally based, all about the map, and all about controlling the board from that stance. That would be so cool. They should have talked. If they do that, great. If they don't, talk to me next time, or come up with some other color for your next expansion that are all about the board. I think there's a ton of promise there. Super excited, and I'm so excited about my own idea that I'm going to be let down by whatever they have after. Anyways, that's Kemet Blood and Sand. It will almost certainly be a game that I am backing. I don't think there's much of a chance of me backing out at this point, but who knows. From there, we have Nemesis. Nemesis is a huge one. You know, day 3, day 4, whatever it is now, you have 3.8 million. Like I said, this is very likely going to top that 7 million, that seventh continent when I referenced in my other video. Yeah, I did a video above. You can watch that. I do think this will hit the 7 million, that 7th continent. What goes up must come down did. And I'm just using that as a baseline comparison point of 2 really popular, hard to get Kickstarters that came out with a reprint with more content. And so I'm intrigued where this will end up. Gameplay wise, there's lots of stuff you can watch out there. This is a game that's been around. Lockdown introduces new elements to the game, and ultimately that's where the hardest choice is. I've seen a lot of people commenting on my last video about, well, what should I get if I don't want to get everything? Should I get Lockdown? Should I get the original pledge? Should I go all in? And the answers there are, in short, if you go all in, you will be able to see your money back. It's a little trickier to go all in and split it up in terms of selling it, because the nature of the pledges they have is there is some overlap in the content of the 2 big pledges. And so it's going to be a little bit trickier unless you're willing to split up your own pledge, unless you're willing to keep the extras and sell a full pledge. Then you start getting into these tricky conversations where someone's like, well, I wanted this pledge and I'm not entirely sure of what I'm getting. It doesn't attract from the value, it just attracts to the messiness of the transaction, which can be a turnoff or a slight disincentive to getting the full value back. So in terms of this, if you're backing all in, again, it's going to be a little trickier to sell them in parts. You can do it for sure, just a little trickier. If you're backing one pledge over the other, my recommendation is the original. You could go either way, and that could be something that's a bad choice in hindsight, but the keywords are in hindsight. When you have a game that is taking an established property and improving upon that established property to make it better, it really goes one of 2 ways. It's a binary choice. Either it's better or it's worse. And I'm a big fan of a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. I'm a big fan of back the game that did it right. Back the game that people love. And it is entirely possible that the next one might be better. That is life. The flip side is it's entirely possible the next one might be worse. And ask yourself, which decision are you more likely to beat yourself up upon? Are you more upset at yourself if you back the good game and then the next one is better? Are you going to be more upset like, oh, I should have backed the better one? Or are you going to be more upset at yourself if you back Lockdown and it has some flaws and the original's better? Are you going to be like, oh, I should have played it safe? Which decision will hurt you more if it doesn't go the way you want? And that's usually what I recommend going with. And for myself, the answer there is always, I'd rather have taken the risk. I'd rather not have taken the risk that I wanted something better, but at least I got something good. So if you're on the fence and you're looking for someone to give you an answer, I recommend the original. If you're not on the fence, then great. Just back whichever one you want or go all in. But yes, this is a big campaign, absolutely killing it. A great property. This is Awakened Realms' biggest property, and I mean, this is. I can see why. It's a combination of a theme people love, a game that they did well, not without its flaws, not without its critiques. There definitely are people who have a more negative opinion about the gameplay, and a big thing worth mentioning is a lot of people said this is a game that, even the people who liked it, said this is a game that delivers an incredible experience, not incredible gameplay, which I'm fine with. I've mentioned in the past, story games aren't as much my thing. I do have some, I'm still trying to get into that world, but story games aren't as much my thing. But what is my thing is experiences. Cosmic Encounter, which I no longer own, but Cosmic Encounter is a game that I never thought it was an incredible game. I never thought it delivered incredible gameplay, but I thought it delivered incredible stories. Every time I played Cosmic Encounter, the interactions delivered a story, and that's why it's currently on my list of games I want to get back. Not because I missed the gameplay, I couldn't care less about the gameplay, but the stories and the alliances and the betrayals and the I played this card to counter this card and we ended in a negotiate. It delivered incredible gameplay experiences, and I'm fine with that. If Nemesis does the same, if Nemesis is a game that's primarily on rails with a few decisions along the way, but it delivers an incredible experience, that's a win for me. If that short overview is a flag for you, I recommend watching other reviews. I recommend looking at other people's opinions on Nemesis to see what your own might be. Shut Up and Sit Down did a great one. I know King of Average didn't enjoy it. I know there are different people out there who have opinions on this game that are negative, and you should look into those if you're on the fence. Or you could do what I do and back it because it will hold its value, and either it will be a game I love, in which case it'll be worth every penny, or it'll be a game I move on from and I will not have lost $400 along the way. So that in a nutshell is my whole Kickstarter viewpoint of trying to determine that safe back or not, so that I have the freedom to get what I want. Moving from there, we have Dice Miner, and Dice Miner is a tricky one. I mean, the small ones in general are tricky because the big ones are usually much easier to give a quick, obvious viewpoint. The smaller ones are always tough. This is a bit, the tricky one is because I think the game is light. I'm not 100% certain. Now, at a glance, this game it's a cute little, tower. Let's see if we can look at the GIF here. Yeah, you can see this GIF over here that you have a bunch of dice into a mountain, and you have to pull out the dice to accomplish your objectives as you go. It's intriguing, it is. And then they have, for the deluxe version, they have upgraded dice with upgraded effects. They have a better mountain as opposed to a cardboard standee. And the pledge levels are either $49 for the deluxe, $29 for the standard, add 10 basically to either one, assuming you're in the US. So it's really $39 or $59. And that, in my opinion, is a lot of money if this is the lighter game that I think it is. I do not have anything against light games. I have plenty of light games in my collection, but one of the things that I have consistently found true, there are exceptions, I'm looking at you, Marvel United, but one of the things I have consistently found true is that lighter games tend to not hold their value and their price point as well. People get excited about lighter games, but they tend to get traded away faster. They tend to, be turned around faster. Not always, but if you think about the natural evolution of gamers, the natural evolution of a gamer's collection is they tend to slowly move up in the weight class of a game. And that means that when you get a game and it is lighter, it doesn't necessarily have the same strategic depth that will last you as many plays, and that in turn leads to more of a secondary market dump, and that in turn leads to games that if they are lighter, they tend to be like, oh, Dice Miner was so much fun, and 4 plays later it's on the shelf waiting to be traded or sold to someone else. I believe, based on watching the how to play videos of Dice Miner, I believe Dice Miner is a lighter game. It does appeal to me. It very strongly appeals to me. I am sure I will get this down the road for myself, and then I'm sure that I will trade it away. That is generally the case for lighter games. There are exceptions, 100%, but most lighter games I enjoy a few plays and then I move on from it. And since that has been my experience across the board, not just my own personal experience, but in general, if you watch some of the videos of Board Game Co. traded games, like our most traded games, our most sold games, they often are lighter games. They tend to see the most movement in the industry. They tend to be picked up a lot and then traded away a lot. And that, I believe, will happen with Dice Miner, which means the value proposition I don't think is there, unfortunately. If this intrigues you, go ahead and get it, especially at the Deluxe Pledge. I would not recommend the basic pledge at all. That'll be available cheaper in retail, assuming it goes to retail. Whereas the Deluxe Pledge, if you're going to get it, get the sparkly dice, get the mountain, at least you'll have something better for it. Crusader Kings is a good example. Crusader Kings is a game that is lighter. It's not as light as Dice Miner, or I think it's not as light, but Crusader Kings is a slightly lighter game, but it's incredibly well done production value. The deluxe version does hold its value. Sometimes lighter games can hold their value. We'll see how it plays out. My opinion is I'm a little wary of it. It's not a hard, firm, don't back it, but I'm definitely wary of paying $59 for what this game is giving you. And finally, we move to Fray Champions of the Everyverse. We're hitting another 35-minute video here, but Fray Champions of the Everyverse is another game that sadly, this one is not currently hitting its funding goal. It's 12,000 out of 3,200, and I think it looks fine, but I think the problem is that it looks fine. This is a game that's coming, it's a arena style game, a battling style game. You have your heroes, you're fighting in this arena, and I don't think it does enough to stand out in the current crowded field that we have of these games. It's not that I can point to a single thing that looks bad. The miniatures look good. Not the best, but not the worst either. I've seen far worse from games I've really enjoyed. The game looks fine. The art looks fine. The board looks fine. I don't have an easy answer as to what it is about this game that's not standing out in a crowd. But at the end of the day, it currently is not standing out in a crowd. If you like this, if it appeals to you, if you want to check it out, go ahead. The price point is pretty good, by the way. The price point at $59 plus shipping, considering what you're getting, if you want an introduction to an arena game, the price point is a good call. I would say the one standout it has is the price point. Take a look at that, see if this game appeals to you. For myself, I am not backing it because, like I said, it doesn't stand out in a crowd for me. I already have too many of these games. And the general lack of absorption, the general lack of people backing it and jumping onto it makes me concerned for the value after the fact. If people aren't interested now, when there's that FOMO aspect of can I get it later, are they going to be interested later either? And that is, it's a tough one. So that's basically it. We have all these campaigns. I didn't count them, so I'm not going to sum them up yet. But anyways, that's the overview. These are all the campaigns for the day. We have a few big ones, a few that I'm backing, a bunch of small ones as well. Take your pick, back what you like, support the creators. If you want to support creators, go ahead and support creators. If you want to take into account the value aspect, that's what these videos are for, to give you that viewpoint. If you just like the FOMO aspect of, I love the look of Gunfighter and I want to get it now, go ahead, get it now. No one's telling you not to. That's basically it. That's my opinion. I'm Alex from Board Game Co. Hope you enjoyed these videos. Subscribe for more, like, whatever, share, all that stuff. And until next time, I will see you.